In a sense, all of our work in the Center for Collective Intelligence is about how to make more intelligent organizations. Now, one kind of intelligent organization would be an intelligent company, or at a smaller level, an intelligent team. So one question we've thought a lot about is, what makes some teams smarter than others? To answer that question, one of the things you really need to do is to be able to measure how smart a team or a group is. So we've done a lot of work with the goal of developing ways of measuring in a quantitative way the intelligence of groups. To do that, we've used the same statistical techniques that are used to measure individual intelligence, but we've applied those techniques to measuring the intelligence of groups. We found that there's a single statistical factor for a group, just as there is for an individual, that predicts how well the group will perform on a very wide range of very different tasks. We call that factor collective intelligence, and we've developed a test that a group can take to measure that factor. One of the things we found was that the group's collective intelligence is correlated, but only moderately correlated, with the average individual intelligence of the people in the group. In other words, just having a bunch of smart people in a group doesn't necessarily make a smart group. Now, many of us already know that from our personal experience, but here's a precise scientific demonstration of that. That leads to another question, though. If just having smart people isn't all you need to make a smart group, what else do you need? And in our studies of that question, we found three answers. We found, first of all, that a group's collective intelligence is significantly correlated with the average social perceptiveness, or social intelligence, of the people in the group. Now, we measure this social intelligence by showing people pictures of other people's eyes, just the eye region of their face, and asking them to guess what emotion the person in the picture is feeling. When you have a bunch of people in a group who are good at doing that, then on average, the group is more collectively intelligent than when you don't. The second thing we found that was significantly correlated with the group's collective intelligence was the degree to which people in the group participate about evenly in the conversation. When one or two people dominate the conversation, then on average the group is less collectively intelligent than when they participate more equally. Finally, we found that the group's collective intelligence was significantly correlated with the percentage of women in the group. More women was correlated with more intelligent groups. Now, interestingly, this factor about gender was mostly explained statistically by the factor about social perceptiveness. In other words, it was already known even before our work that women on average scored higher on this measure of social perceptiveness than men. And so one possible explanation for our result, one that I like personally, is that what you need for a group to be collectively intelligent may be just having enough people in the group who are relatively high on this measure of social perceptiveness. And if you have that, then it may not matter much whether the people are men or women, as long as you have that. It's just that if you know nothing about a person besides their gender, you're a little more likely to get that with a woman than with a man. Now, we've also done some more recent studies where we compared face-to-face groups with online groups. The face-to-face groups sat around a table working together to complete this collective intelligence test, talking whenever they wanted to among themselves. The online groups completed the same test as a group, but the only way they could communicate with each other was by typing text messages to each other. what we found was that the social perceptiveness of the group members was equally predictive of their collective intelligence in both cases. In other words, even when people in the group couldn't see each other's eyes at all, their ability to read emotions in eyes was strongly predictive of how well they could work together as a group. So what I think that means is that this measure of social perceptiveness must actually be measuring a much broader range of interpersonal skills, what you might call social intelligence, that is actually correlated with how well people are able to guess what's going on in others' minds, to know what to say, to get a useful reaction, etc. Basically, it's a way of measuring people's ability to work effectively with others. And so at some level, a simplistic summary of our results is that for a group to be collectively intelligent, you need to have people in the group who are individually intelligent, if possible, but you also need to have people in the group who are good at working together. And when you have those two things, that seems to be a good recipe for a collectively intelligent group. So we think this project has a lot of implications for how to create smarter teams and smarter organizations. For one thing, it provides a way of measuring how smart teams or groups are, and therefore a way of trying lots of possible things to do to make teams smarter. For instance, it may provide a way of helping to determine what combinations of people and skills can work best together as a group. It may provide a way of thinking about what kinds of combinations of demographic or other characteristics we want of the people in a group. We think, for instance, that it may also be a way of predicting how well a group will do. What if, for instance, you could give a test like this to a sales team and predict how well they would do over the coming months? What if you could give such a test to a top management team or a board of directors and predict how well they would do at meeting a wide range of different challenges? Even more interestingly, perhaps, we think this could help evaluate many different ways of using computer-based collaboration tools or other kinds of interventions to help groups work better. For instance, in face-to-face groups, people often say that the optimal size of a group is somewhere between about 5 and 10 people. More than that, the group gets unwieldy. One of the very intriguing possibilities, I think, is that by using the right kinds of online tools, it might be possible to create larger and larger groups that continue to get smarter as they get larger, far past the point where a face-to-face group begins to operate less well. What if, for instance, we could have groups of 50 or 500 or even 500,000 people working together in a way that made them significantly more intelligent than a smaller size group?